as Andrew Coyne has said, he recognizes the media is losing its independence because not only is the old media subsidized right now by the Trudeau government, and we're not talking about the $1.4 billion the government spends on the state broadcaster CBC. We're talking about the subsidies, tens of millions of dollars that have gone to legacy media in subsidies. So now they're talking about more subsidies. So that means more strings. That means the media will be less inclined to criticize the government or the hand that feeds them, as Senator Pamela Wallin has pointed out quite brilliantly. That of course they're going to be less inclined to criticize. And so this is why. Is it incompetence, or is it something else? And I think that's the question. That's the question we have to ask ourselves right now, because it might well be something else, something quite terrifying, which is the collapse of what we used to understand as press freedom, because clearly Trudeau is going after something here. Do you remember that there was a policy resolution, and it's quite fascinating. There was a policy resolution at the last Liberal convention this year. I want to bring that up for you here. In fact, we'll even give you a clearer view of it. There was a policy resolution brought up this year, and it is quite fascinating because it demanded that internet media outlets reveal their sources. They have to prove their story. Now, some people said, well, that's just too draconian to have in a free and democratic society. The Liberals can't really be serious about that. They don't really want to get into the newsroom, but they do. You see, these are the poison pills that were inserted into this C-18 legislation. The government is giving itself the right to insert itself into the newsroom and to discover who the sources were, what they're saying, because they want to know. And here is a fascinating testimony from the
Fishing
Globe and
for
Mail.
confidential information from news organizations, particularly information related to editorial departments, would be an overreach that's best avoided. But the threat to the independence of media rather than the loss of a few $1 million, I think that's a much more long-term threat to our industry if we don't get the language of this bill right.
Is it worth the risk?
Now, before we move on to Senator Pamela Wallin coming on next, but there's the publisher of the Globe and Mail, which was initially well behind this. They wanted an amendment so the government could not insert itself into the newsroom and have sources named, just like this Liberal policy resolution demanded. I had confirmation this morning from Michael Geist, who's been following this bill very carefully. That request was made, the government denied it. So the newsrooms are open to the federal government's monitoring. So let's hear what Senator Pamela Wallin has to say about this.
Risk of having the government now interfere or snoop in your newsrooms in order for the exchange of cash, which you're already getting through the deals you've signed?
I think at a time when there is questions of trust in media, we want to make sure that trust in media is something that people believe in, and I don't think that's helped if you allow, to Paul's words, the CRTC to snoop into what's going on in the newsrooms and have some say in what would otherwise be a commercial agreement that is struck between the parties, and value will be found in those agreements.
We've already had suggestions from ministers that they do actually consider that one of their rights, that they would make judgments about content.
25 seconds.
I'm assuming that concerns you.
It does.
Thank you.
So it does concern the Globe and Mail. I'll tell you why. The Globe and Mail broke the story about Chinese election interference and how they were buying Liberal seats. how the Chinese Communist government was buying seats for the Liberals and intimidating some candidates, helping other candidates, interfering in the Canadian election. Now, the Globe and Mail received that information from a whistleblower within the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS. Trudeau said he wanted that guy, or that man or that woman. I don't know who it is, and I don't know the gender or the sex of the individual. I have no idea. But Trudeau wants that person to be drawn and quartered, hauled up on the carpet, and disciplined in some way, probably fired, because he doesn't think there should be such a thing as a whistleblower. And he wants the Globe and Mail to be forced to reveal that source. And that's what this is all about. It's about going after the whistleblower. And this is the nefarious and the insidious design of Bill C-18. It is going to take that kind of freedom away. And this, if you want to see a chilling clip.
Monsieur Trudeau, vous vous faites rassurant par rapport aux résultats des élections.
You're very reassuring on the results of elections, Mr. Trudeau. But what are you saying?
Now, of course, this is Trudeau initially saying he's going to find out who that whistleblower is who told the Globe and Mail about Chinese election interference.
You have to say about the fact that people at CSIS are leaking secret documents. Isn't there some discomfort within those agencies regarding China? It's certainly a sign that security within CSIS needs to be reviewed, and I'm expecting CSIS to take the issue very seriously.
Do you believe that the whistleblower should be found and prosecuted?
I do. Absolutely, I do. The law has been broken. Sources, techniques have been put at risk. Our credibility with Five Eyes allies has been put at risk. There are better ways of doing this. There are better ways of raising your concerns within a national security agency. There are better ways of trying to bring some light to this topic than risking Canada's national security.
You believe it should happen? Do you believe it will happen?
That the person will be found? I do.
Absolutely chilling. Do you believe that person we found? I do. Is this what C-18 is all about? So the government can go into the newsroom and find out who the sources were so they can prosecute people for telling the truth about Liberal Party corruption, Liberal government idiocy, Liberal government authoritarian overreach. Is that what C-18 is all about? That's a very candid interview with this senior policy advisor to Justin Trudeau. Yeah, we're going to get this person. Trudeau promised to get the person, and now Jody Thomas is promising to get that person. And this is absolutely frightening. This is absolutely frightening. Because this is what C-18 is all about. I call it the Internet Extortion Bill, but it's more than that. And we're finding out the devil really is in the details, because we didn't adequately look at this bill. We just knew it was wrong. We knew it was aimed at internet censorship, like C-11 was, which demands absurd levels of Canadian content, and like the coming online safety bill, which is going to ban disinformation, which the government refuses to define. We knew this was part of a censorship package, a three-pronged package, but we didn't look at the details. And this is what the government hopes you're not going to notice during the summer as this bill comes forth into fruition. They don't want you to question this bill because it is frightening. And what it's aimed at is negation of freedom of the press and our freedom of speech in this country. And it's aimed at putting the government in the newsroom. Trudeau's already bought off the media. But thank God some of them are rising up and saying, we can't work in this environment anymore, where the government controls us through the purse strings. We cannot work as free agents in a democratic society, trying to be a free press in a democratic society, when the government controls us financially. And they're saying enough. Stop subsidizing. Stop paying us off. And the government knows, I think, the policymakers, at least, maybe Rodriguez is too vacuous to understand how media works today. And I don't think Trudeau understands it any better. But I'm sure the policy advisors who are putting this legislation together know that this is designed to hurt media. So it gives the government more control, a greater leeway to take more control over legacy media. Now, the new media never accepted the subsidization for the federal government because they saw it for what it is, a buy-off, allowing Trudeau to put the media in his pocket. They understood that. But they also understand how new media works, how the internet actually operates. And that's if you want your news to be on social media, because it means more money. It means greater circulation. That's how circulation works these days. Some of these people are stuck in the 1970s and 80s, where it had to do with broadsheets and tabloids being sold in the corner in the morning, or television shows with huge ratings. These are all being completely negated now by social media. Shows on YouTube have a higher viewership than traditional media is getting. And they're being rewarded for that. And that's how it works today. But Trudeau either ignores that or doesn't like that, and he wants to control the media. This is flagrant disregard of a free press, flagrant disregard of democratic tradition in this country, and it's dangerous. And yes, we need to resolve to resist, because we might be cut off from social media news any day soon, any day now. And that's the direct cause of the government's meddling, of the federal government meddling. And that's going to be sad news. Can you imagine being left with nothing but CBC, your publicly funded state broadcaster? So I encourage you to support independent journalism. Support what we're doing on this station. Please do. And we're going to keep this up. We dedicated this entire show to C-18 because the government doesn't want you to know more about it. And there's a lot happening right now. We're going to keep talking about it throughout the summer and keep watching to see what this Liberal government is up to next, because it wants to take your freedom away. And there's no question about that. So until the next time, I want to say God bless you and thanks for watching. We'll be here for you.